Can you kind of walk us through that specific mission of how that went down?
Yeah. So we had been working in Mumadia for about a month and a half, 2 months, and we were just wreaking havoc on those guys. Like we were busting them up pretty bad. And that was the only cell we were working, and our source was part of that cell. And so he had rolled on his homeboys, and basically was giving us the farm. So that day we were waiting for this guy to come home. Named Matt Al Jamadi, just waiting for him to come home. We did the ISR past his house, and Blinky, Chris Campbell, God rest his soul, got clean photos of him. We're looking for a 6'4" Iraqi wearing a blue tracksuit, and Blinky got photos. We're like, shit, he's there, And we've been probably waiting for him about 4 or 5 days. And so we got ready that night, and it was no holds barred. We were going to end that dude's life, So came up on the house, of course, as normal, bad intel. I'm told it was a steel door, a wood door, steel door at the end of the hallway on the right. So I go up there with a double sided charge, 2 pieces of conveyor belt to have a pushing charge. Blow the door. It turns out it's a wood door. So intel's wrong there. We blow the door. I'm probably number 6 into the house because I was the B breacher that night. Jay was the A breacher. And as soon as we get in there, Lieutenant Leverage is like, go soft, go soft, go soft. This is the wrong house. This is the wrong house. And there's furniture in there, and there's you could tell this was not a bad guy's house, right? So we just whoa. And I put the brakes on really quick inside the house. And first guy we see is like a 5'2" Iraqi, hey, dude, just sit down, relax. Probably in there 1 minute. Ledford's like, hey, it's this door over here. He's like, Taco, get over here. And I go to the door, and there's 2 doors. I'm like, which one? He's like, this one. I'm like, how do you know? He's like, I just know. So he's just awesome platoon commander, straight up warrior, one of the best officers I ever worked for. So I put the charge on the door, get everybody back behind me, like, hey, get behind me. We start going, and I had to get the set point going down the stairs. There's just no room, right? And the gig is up already, right? We've already blown the charge. And the lights are starting to pop onto the city, right? And, my hair on the back of my neck standing. And right as I get about 6 feet from the door, you know how we did our charges. I won't talk about how we did our charges, but, I got it open, no one else coming out. And I saw this about that fast of light. And I'm like, what the fuck was that? And I look at Mark Carter, God rest his soul too. And I love that dude. I look at him, he didn't see it. I'm like, and then I heard something go, and I'm like, fucking, that door's open. And it was probably me to you. And I just fucking, bam, I kicked the door as hard as I could. In there's this 6'4" Iraqi. And so me and him went at each other, and I just kept trying to get him to the ground, and I couldn't get him to the ground. And so I slammed him left. And as soon as I slammed him right, we went into this doorway, and everybody just blew by. I guess they never saw us go in that doorway. We landed on this table, and with all my gear on, I'm probably 300 pounds.
So it's just you and him.
Just me and him, yeah. And I'm on top of him, and I can't get to either one of my weapons. And we're on this table, and all of a sudden the table goes bam. So we just fall, and the table collapses, and I keep trying to get to my pistol, but this fucking table's here, right? So I can't get to my pistol. I wasn't carrying a knife. I was carrying a folder, right? So I'm like, I can't even get to that. So I'm just headbutting him, doing anything I can, right, to freaking get on him. He's got me by the neck like this, and I'm just trying to boom, boom, boom. And I just tried to stand up, right? I just stand up and shoot this son of a bitch, And as I tried to stand up, I grabbed hold of something to pull myself up, and it came down on his head, bam! And I was like, oh, fuck. I picked it up and smacked it on his head one more time, and pulled him out from under there, got my gun up, and right as I was pulling the trigger on him, I heard, hey, don't shoot him, we need him. I'm like, I thought we were going to fucking kill this dude. And they were like, no, we need him. Okay, so pulled him up. He was really fucked up, his whole fucking face was fucked up.
What was it that you hit him?
A stove. Yeah, the story's better now, and the teams, everybody's like, oh, Taco killed him with a toaster. I'm like, there's no toasters in Iraq, but it was a stove, right?
It's a big microwave.
In America, we bolt the stoves to the wall.
Yeah.
Not over there. So it came down on his melon, and why I did it twice, I don't know. You're in the moment,
Yeah.
So we walked him down the stairs, me and another guy, and we were going to throw him off the fucking roof. So we're walking down from the 3rd story, and the guy's like, hey, let's throw him off. I'm like, let's fucking throw him off, fuck this guy. And of course, Lieutenant Leverage like, don't fucking throw him off, you idiots. Why?
Same reason I told you not to shoot him.
So take him downstairs and put him in the car, and he drives away, never to be seen again. But yeah, that was it, man. It was probably one of the most terrifying moments of my life, to be, rolling around in the dirt with a bad guy who'd killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
We know for a fact he'd killed 6 Americans. We know for a fact he beheaded 2 of them. We have the video.
And he tortured them and
Drilled
gutted
a little girl's head full of holes, and he's a piece of shit, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was, when you're in that moment, you're just people are like, they think we being feeling. I mean, I would feel like a hero. I was scared shitless. That's really the reality of it.
Yeah.
And I was probably screaming for my mom at that moment. I don't know. I mean, I just know that I was like, this is bad. I'm alone, you know.
Do you have any concept of how much time you were hands-on with him?
Maybe a minute.
Yeah.
Wasn't long.
Would you, I mean, it sounded like he was a handful, but I mean, as many
He's big. He's a big dude.
big, strong guys, hard to deal with.
He did, you know, he's country strong. It wasn't like he was jacked, you know. He's just, but you know, those tall guys, they're just his
Lanky,
arm.
wiry
What it was is his arm and his, you know, I got little short, little nubby arms, right? And I can just remember he was like, I was literally almost standing with his arm around my neck, and that's the part that was scaring me because I could feel myself starting to turtle. And, you know, with all that gear on, you get on your back, it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, and like we train, you get on your back, you know, you're not getting off your back.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest thing. Was like, and you know, I'm thankful for Dieter's training. You know, I got to participate in a lot of Dieter's training. I just remember telling myself, don't go on your back.
Yeah.
And as a wrestler, I just kept sprawling wider and wider. And yeah, it was just everything I could bringing the house down on me now.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, the kind of 180-degree turn that there is now, both commercially, societally, I guess it's three things: commercially, societally, and even in the teams, combatives wise, is so jiu-jitsu heavy now, which, you know, there's a lot of things you can do on your back with, you know, X-guard and, you know, different mechanisms that you can wrap yourself up into somebody's legs and just absolutely fucking own them from on your back. But at that time, that wasn't much of what we were doing. And
most guys did jiu-jitsu on their own. Like I knew how to do it, but that was not my, you know, your thought process as a wrestler. I become a jiu-jitsu practitioner, but I was not then.
Yes.
I was a wrestler. And as a wrestler, you're like, do not get on your back, you know?
No, same here. And there's also a little bit of apples to oranges there too. And that there are a lot of things that I would, you know, from we'll call it a real world or street application now, that I would probably employ, you know, if it was just me dressed how I am, you know, out on the street here, somebody, you know, attacks us at a restaurant or what, you know, whatever, that is not particularly applicable in an environment like that, depending on the context, you know, what you're wearing and what they have or don't have. You don't know if he has a gun. I mean, I don't give a fuck how good you are on your back. If a dude's got a gun, forget about it, you know? So there's not a direct correlation there. And that's also why one of the things that I do like about the Dieter stuff is how simple it is. Like, you don't have to spend 9 years, 4 days a week to get to a point where you could actually use it in an environment like that, where there's that much stress and chaos. Whereas jiu-jitsu, I mean, you have to put quite a bit of time into it to be able to really use it, in my opinion, you know.
That's the thing people didn't, you know, that's the part that I never really correlated either. Is when it was all said and done, there's just shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Like my comm wires were hanging out. You know, there's freaking magazines are half in, half out. You know, there's a grenade on the floor. I mean, you got all that crap on, no matter how you secure it. You know, and I don't know how, maybe he was grabbing it. I don't know. But like even my night vision was half kind of bent over the mount. Yeah. So it was like,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I mean, and to me, I think, not to get too far off in the weeds, and I'll move on after this, but I think, you know, where jiu-jitsu is really helpful is in a couple of chokes, a couple of arm bars, a couple of leg attacks, you know, just a few basic ones, and body positioning and working on just that, and not looking at it from an MMA or a competitive jiu-jitsu standpoint where there's 3,000 different fucking moves. Like, to me, that's not only is it not practical, it's counterproductive because it's too hard to learn that amount of stuff with all of the other shit you have to do. And people ask me that a lot, like, how much time did you guys work on combatives? Way less than I think a lot of people think, because for us, I mean, yes, you found yourself in a position where you could not get to a gun. You were by yourself with a guy. Of all of the room entries, and at this point, there's probably hundreds of thousands of them that have taken place just in the SEAL teams, let alone special operations. How many of them have ended up like that? A handful, you know? I mean, like, if you find yourself in that position, things have gone so horribly wrong to where, you know, you being able to do some crazy fucking, you know, octopus style fucking leg lock on a guy is not that not that high on the priority list when you compare it to being able to be a good shooter, a good communicator, good movement through a house. Those things are all so much more important than, being able to do certain jiu-jitsu moves that it's an order of priority. But so when after that happened, were there other people in the house? Did the mission basically end there where you got him and that was it, or was there more to it than that?
No. So as soon as we got him, we called Jackpot and rolled down to the vehicles and, basically was like, let's get out of here. This city is getting ready, because once you get in there, it's like going into Solder City. Once you're in, it isn't about we need to go. It's like we need to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's about to come down on us,
Yeah. And so you guys got out of there fairly quick. He gets turned over to Abu Ghraib. You never see him again. And then it wasn't until you got back to where, nothing in between.
So the next morning, for us, we woke up at 1 p.m. and I get woke up at like 9 a.m. They're like, hey, man, you need to go in the talk. All right. So I go in the talk, sleep in my eyes, didn't go to bed till like 6 that morning. And they're like, hey, you need to fill out a statement. I'm like, what's up? Like, oh, you killed that dude. So I was like, oh, okay. So I start filling out my statement, and, basically being as factual as I can. And that statement came on later to obviously save me because my story never changed. And it turns out later is, as the story progresses, is that basically no American doctor at Abu Ghraib would sign the death certificate. They were like, we're not fucking signing that death certificate. So in the photos from Abu Ghraib, he's called the man on ice. So whomever was in the room with him, the civilians who were in the room with him, put a fake IV in him, packed him on ice, and the next day pretended to give him chest compressions as they walked him out. They had to go out in town to find an Iraqi doctor. That Iraqi doctor signed a one-line death certificate saying he died of natural causes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So once there was at least that kind of heads up that something was different.
Yeah.
You had to fill out a statement, which you hadn't had to do normally. Was there no indication that was a problem until after you got home from deployment?
I was in Mosul, a deployment later, and the CID guy comes up, Army Criminal Investigations, and like, hey, you need to come up to the talk again. And this guy's there. I'm like, what's up? He's like, oh, I just wanted to see if I can get a statement from you. Well, what? He's like, oh, we're investigating you for murder. And I'm like, all right, which dude? And that's when he's like, this guy, Matt Al-Jamadi. So that was the first time that I had heard about it. And I'm like, I'm not giving you a statement. I've already made a statement. And, I'm not making any statements without, proper representation. That's the problem. A lot of military guys don't realize you have rights. You have criminal rights. And I was smart enough to go, I'm not talking. So when I came back from deployment, I get called over to Warcom, and I walk in that room, there's multiple civilians and that CID guy. And they're like, we want to talk to you about this again. I'm like, well, last time I talked, that dude told me I was being investigated for murder. So unless I have a lawyer, I'm not saying anything. And that's when they were like, you are not being investigated. We know exactly what happened. You are not the focus of this. We've cleared you of everything. We want to know what you did because we know what happened at Abu Ghraib. I'm like, okay, here's what happened. And then, fast forward another month, and next thing you know, they're like, now we're charging you. I'm like, so.
Yeah, I've had Eddie Gallagher on twice. I've had other guys that I know or know guys that know them well. That there are a lot of instances of our guys, who, in my opinion, put their fucking nuts on the line day in, day out and get just fucking steamrolled by the Navy and by our government. And it's fucking terrible. It's an all volunteer force. And then you get these fucking trigger happy prosecutor based idiots that, just like in the civilian sector, and this is a big problem I have with our criminal justice system, is using the conviction rate as like the EBITDA of a business would, is that's the value of you as a prosecutorial attorney is, well, what's your conviction rate? And like, to me, that shouldn't be what makes you a good fucking attorney or not. I get where that stems from, but that incentivizes guys to convict people no matter what, and so they stop caring about what's right and start and only caring about their ability to convict people at the highest percentage rate possible. And I think that's such a flawed way to go about it, especially in the military when it's like, I'm sure that their ability to promote and their award-based system is centered around that and drives them to do that. But it's such a fucking backwards, poisonous way to go about it.
And it's tragic too, because, you know, one of the guys who got charged with me was an EOD guy and a young kid, you know, it's such a special place in my heart for him. He actually died later on. He admitted to doing things, and I'm like, you weren't even there.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't even in the vehicle. I'm like, well, he was like, dude, I don't know. Like, he was in 19 hours, you know, of an interview, didn't know that he could say stop, didn't know that he could have the right to an attorney. And by the end of the interview, you know, and you're talking, you know, people like, how did that guy, you know, like, how did that guy confess? And this is a guy who's a special operations EOD guy who deployed with us twice, squared away, who basically said he might as well have killed the Pope. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, you weren't even there.
Wow. And
literally, I'm reading, you know, because I got the discovery, and I was just baffled. Like, why would you even admit you weren't there? He's like, I don't even know what happened. And that's the part that was just tragic, you know. And when he got killed, you know, a couple of years later, about a year and a half later, in Ramadi, it was just like that one probably, of all the things that happened, that probably hurt the worst, because the last conversation we had with each other wasn't a good conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and I loved him, you know, and it still makes me sad because we were very close.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, that's tough. Were there, I mean, you did multiple deployments to that area of operations. Were there any other missions that kind of stand out as being notable in that same regard? Not necessarily going hands-on, but just from an actions at the objective standpoint were notable?
Yeah, you know, in Mosul we got to do just so many missions. It was ridiculous. One of them stands out, and it's a funny story, but like it's probably the most emotional story for me. You know, not talking about the gunfights and whatnot. This was everything that can go wrong goes wrong, but it turns out in the end you're just like, oh my God. And so we're outside the city called Tel Afar, and they're getting ready to, you know, go through Tel Afar, and basically our big army is going to go through Tel Afar and battle it up. So we're going to go hit this target, massive compound. We know there's probably, you know, 25, 30 guys in this compound. It's a staging point. So it's us, the Grom, and ODA team. And so we launched on this target, and it's huge. It's probably, you know, 150 room target. It looks like a hotel. And so as we're rolling up there, I'm already mad because, you know, Ron Culpepper, who was my SEA, and I love Ron. Ron's like, hey man, you know, you should talk to this breacher. He's been working out here a lot, and he says you should use this certain charge. I'm like, not using that charge. Like, it's going to take 3 of us to employ. It's called a submarine charge. So it's 6 IV bags across a T-bar, and you're going to put that against these gates. And so during the brief, they were like, hey, what are you going to do if you can't breach the gate? Because, you know, all the gates are big, but they always have a door. I want to breach the door, obviously. Well, you know, these are big steel gates, and I don't think the charge you're going to use. I'm like, dude, I've done this 300 times. I know this charge is going to work, and I teach breaching. So, of course, Ron makes me do this thing, and the guy's like, what are you going to do if the charge doesn't work? I'm like, I'm going to drive the 12,000-pound vehicle right through those gates. Oh, that'll never work. So it's already contentious, right? Army versus Navy, you know, yeah. It's their battle space. We're the first SEALs to go in their battle space. And, you know, I don't think they wanted us there. They needed us because the target was so big. So, of course, as we're driving up to the target, it's lights everywhere. And it was supposed to be us hitting first, you know, completely by ourselves. And then helicopters come in to support, and then the Bradleys and the Strikers and everybody come in. Of course, that never happens. So as we're pulling up to the target, we're at our staging point. I'm rigging the charge, and it's in my lap like this big, all right? And we start going down this long causeway, and it's probably a mile-long causeway with the target's at the end of this causeway. Here comes the helicopter. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You know, so we're sitting there, and, you know, for us in Mosul, once the breach was set, I pretty much, for the most part, had control. Really, I took control when my feet hit the ground, but as we're driving up, I had the authority to call avalanche or tuna, right? And so avalanches, if you're taking gunfire, let's get out of here. If tuna, we're compromised. So we're driving up there. The helicopter goes over, buzzes the target, and like 4 dudes are sitting there looking at the helicopter, and then they see us, and I'm like, tuna, just go. So Benji, you know, I can't say his real name. He's a damn neck now. I think he just retired. He guns it. We blast through that gate. The gate turns into 27 pieces, right? Yeah. The gunner in the vehicle 2, who also went to Damneck, throws a big concussion grenade over the wall, and bam, it goes off. And dudes, by the time we go in, there's dudes dancing. Crashes are going off all through this compound. You know, guys are dancing. It's so funny. And so we had broken up into sections. And so my section, the breach section, we saw a staircase. We're going to that staircase and we're going across this roof line. In the video and the photos, what we thought was a machine gun nest was pointing directly out of a window on the second deck. Like, we have to get to that thing quick, because if anybody mans it, we're screwed. So as we're going down the second deck, at full speed, and we're all speared up, right? I just see Rob Reeves, God rest his soul, and Eric Moeller. I see their heads whip back, and they're on the ground. And I'm like, fuck, where's he at? Where's he at? And I'm mad. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, And I can't see anybody. I'm just go. Go up to that room, and I just pulled a concussion grenade. I'm like, I'm glad I didn't throw a frag, but I threw a concussion grenade, and boom, massive explosion. Go in there and clear, nothing. And I hear clear right, and I hear clear left. I'm like, I recognize those voices. And I turn my head, back to Robbie, and Robbie's like, clothesline. Right? And, I'm 5'8", and Robbie was about 5'10", and Eric's about 6 foot. And so the clothesline had caught their night vision, whipped their heads back. And in that moment, Mike, I just cried like a little bitch, bro. I just broke down crying.
Really?
Oh, they're my guys, man.
Oh, I got you.
They're my guys, and I thought they were dead. Yeah. And I remember just crying, and Robert was like, you pussy. I'm like, dude. And I'm just sitting there. I'm getting a little emotional now thinking about it, right? I just crying, and over the radio, like, hey, we need the breach team up to the front gate. Okay, back in the game, right? So go to the front gate, go up to this front gate, and we call it the coffee shop from the photos. And Dan Healy, he's an officer. He's throwing crashes and blowing the windows out of this building. I'm like, what's up? He's like, there's a dude in there. Okay, let's go up there. So I go up there and put a charge on the door. The door isn't closing. I literally fall flat on my face. I'm like, oh. Luckily, it was like a shoe room. So I go up, there's another door. Same exact thing. I go to put the charge on the door, and I fall flat on my face. And everybody rushes in there. Like, you could hear them laughing. Yeah. They're laughing at me like, you stupid moron, And so you're half blind already. So we go up there and we get online, and it's a big room, long room. There's a big pile of carpets in the middle, and we're all gunned up, and like, all right, let's go up here, and all of a sudden the cart moves. Like, hey, there's a dude in there. And this is a time of the war where we're not just shooting to shoot, right? We're got a positive ID, everybody. And so I'm like, hey, grab those blankets, pull the blankets off, and we'll deal with it. So remember those C cups? Yeah. So I C cup my weapon, pull the blankets off, and there's a dude there, and I just jump on him. And in his hands, I basically got my hands around his hands. And, you're in such an adrenaline mode. I swear to you, I felt something steal in his hand. And I'm like, he's got a grenade. And I'm like, shoot him. Well, they're not going to shoot him with me right there. So they're just muzzle striking the piss out of this dude, right? Beating the shit out of him. And finally, like, kind of knocks him out or whatever, and pull his hands apart. He's literally holding a spoon.
Holy fuck.
So this dude's getting the piss kicked out of him over a spoon, right? Jesus. So we get done with that. I'm like, you go from this one terrifying moment to another terrifying moment, and
to relief, to terrifying.
And sitting there again, like, hey, again, the radio comes, and this is a long target. We need a breach team. Like, come out, and mission commander Joe Bazzelli, he's like, hey, I need you guys to go up on the roof and go across the roof and go down in that compound next door. I'm like, that's the SS compound. He's like, yeah, they can't get in. What the fuck you mean they can't get in? He's like, they can't get in. So we go over this roof, and it's probably maybe it's 8 feet drop, but with goggles on, pitch black, it looks like a 20-foot drop. I remember Eric, I'll just call him Eric because he's a damn neck. I'm like, you're tallest. You go first. He's like, fuck you, Taco. Yeah. It's like goes down the roof, and you just hear this boof. He's like, it's cool. There's nothing down here. I'm like, all right, new guy. So I come down, and it's a longer fall for me, and I land. I'm like, ugh. So we get in there. It's a sheep pen. So as we're going through the sheep pen, there's these little tunnels. We go through there, and there's a family in there. Like a full-on family in this sheep-shitted tunnel. So we're sitting there. I'm like, hey, fucking don't shoot these guys. I pull the guy aside. I'm like, search him up real quick. Throw the green chem light. I'm like, hey, don't fucking shoot these guys. And we keep going, clear their target, and then come up, and we hear, boom, breaching charge go off. Get ready to hear another one, boom, another breaching charge. So I grab the bundle of blue chem lights and throw it over the wall. I'm like, blue, blue, blue. I'm like, hey, I'm opening the door. It's us on the other side of the door. And so I go up there, and it's drop bar. All right, I pull the drop bar, pull the pin, and the SF breacher who I had a little confrontation with, I look at him, I go, drop pin. Turn around, and that was probably one of the funniest ones. I got a lot of shit for that, obviously. They're like, you rubbed it in his face. I'm like, of course I did, So, and he had turned to be a really good guy. They those guys were squared away. Those SF dudes, they fought a lot of war up there. So,
well, how long do you think this whole thing took?
That was at least an hour.
Oh shit.
Yeah, we were on target for a long time. I mean, you got to think the whole town, which was right outside Telefar, we took the entire town out.
Yeah.
So all the striker guys, I think there was like 18 strikers, probably 4 or 5 Bradleys. They even had, I think, 2 or 3 Abrams out there. You know, multiple helicopters, a whole stack of aircraft.
Yeah.
4 assault teams.
Wow.
So.
To me, the hearing you walk through that story kind of highlights the, you know, what you see in TV shows and movies of how things go and then how they really go. You know, where there's shit that happens. It's, you know, like expect the unexpected. You know, things happen that whether it's clotheslining and you think they're shot or mistaking a spoon for a fucking grenade, or, you know, you're so amped up and you go through this just whirlpool of emotions, you know, in a very short period of time, and then the level of that emotion, you know, is as high as it can be, you know, internally that way, and it's just, I think it really kind of speaks volumes to just how stressful and chaotic and tough of an environment that our guys go out into day in, day out in those types of environments, and just how hard it is on guys, because that, you know, that's hard to comprehend and wrap your mind around. You know, in that moment, seeing and doing those things and having all of those different things happen in that order is, I mean, it's fucking mind numbing.